Okay, it's pretty cold out today, but I thought I'd have a little bit of a chat about LUTs. I've been meaning to talk about these on the channel for a while now, and a lot of people are making their LUTs and they're selling them as a sort of quick fix for getting a particular look with footage. But I see a lot of people putting footage up, and they'll shoot in D-log or whatever other log they're shooting in, and they'll say, and here's the grade with the LUT. Now, a few problems with that, but the main one is that if you're just putting a LUT on your footage, then you're not actually grading. That's not grading. But the other problem is that when these LUTs are created, most of them, the vast majority of them, not all of them, there are exceptions to the rule. So I'm not lumping everybody in the same same box. But the vast majority of YouTubers who create LUTs are not doing it scientifically. They're creating a grade of some footage they've taken. Oh, I like the look of that, and then they're banging it out as a LUT that anyone can download and snap on the footage. But in order for a LUT to work properly and in varied conditions and varied lighting, it needs to be created scientifically. But that's not happening. Now, I need to kind of go back a little bit and sort of understand what a LUT is and why we have them in the first place. LUTs were originally used as a visualization device. So back when digital grading first started to appear in films like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Films were still distributed on film, so there was no digital projection in cinemas at that point. And so when the grading was done digitally, the colorist needed to know how that grade would look once it was printed to the release print, because you've got the film stock that you shoot the film on, and then you've got the different film stock that the film is printed to for release in the cinemas, and that adds its own sort of characteristics to the image. So the original LUTs, I'm sorry if there's tractors and stuff in the background here. So the original LUTs were created so that they would simulate the release print, and therefore the colorist would have a good idea of what the grade would look like once it was projected onto a cinema screen on the release film stock. And LUTs were never intended to be used as the actual grade. That's only a fairly recent thing that's come about, and it's problematic because it gives you this impression that you can just slap a LUT on your footage and that's that. When you look at the correction LUTs for cameras like this, the Action 6, DJI have meticulously created that correction LUT, and it'll work in all lighting conditions and different white balances. It's a scientifically created LUT. I mean, there are other issues as well with D-Log M, because D-Log M I don't think is a true log profile. If you're doing color space transforms with it in Revolve, you need to be setting your input as Rec 709. You don't select D-Log as your input, otherwise you get the wrong result. So that's one thing. But anyway, the point is that if you're going to be, you want a particular look created, then you need to really properly grade it. And, it's not as difficult as you might think. If you're if you're new to grading, you're new to that, you know, you can pick up the basics pretty easily. And slapping a LUT on isn't the way to go, because you're not going to get the same results that you get, or that you see from the YouTuber who might have created them, because they've been created with a very specific camera in very specific shooting conditions, and generally haven't been stress tested, as it were, on different cameras and in different lighting conditions. It's very, you know, it's very unscientifically done. Now, as I said earlier, this isn't the case for everyone. You know, there are exceptions. So don't at me saying that this or that creator creates some really good LUTs. I know there are exceptions to the rule, but generally, you know, it's better to learn how to actually grade your footage properly, and how to use those color space transforms if you're using Resolve, and understand the node tree and the order in which things, you know, work the best. Slapping a LUT on your footage just doesn't teach you anything, and more often than not, you're probably going to be disappointed at the results. So anyway, that's my little bit of a rant for today about LUTs. I've got this tutorial which I'm still working on for POV. It's turned out to be a little bit of a bigger project than I had in mind originally. But yeah, anyway, if you like the video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.